What's up, Journey Student Ministries, and welcome back to another week of Youth Group Online. Hey, we are fired up to see you guys this Sunday morning.
Hey guys, we have a really cool Sunday morning plan for you guys. So to start off, guys, we're gonna be meeting on Zoom, so make sure to join us on Zoom if you're not there with us currently, and we're gonna go ahead and break up into small little groups and talk to each other about how our week's been going.
That's right, you can find the link to the Zoom chat in the description below. Go ahead and join us. We'll see you in 5 minutes. Hey, welcome back. We hope you guys had some great conversations on Zoom and got to connect with your peers a little bit this morning.
Guys, we're now transitioning to one of our beloved, most favorited segments ever, Journey Student Ministries Hot Ones Leader Edition.
That's right, we're fired up to have another episode this week with the one and only Grace Tuttle, one of our high school leaders.
So let's go ahead and throw it over to Andrew and Grace to see them eat some spicy wings.
Is it really not that bad for you?
I mean, I have one tear. That's it.
I hate it so much. What's up, Journey Student Ministries, and welcome back to another edition of Journey Students Hot Ones Leader Edition. Today, we're fired up to have the one and only Grace Tuttle here with us live in the Youth Center. Grace, how you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks for asking. Are you ready to get into our hot sauces?
Yes.
I love a little hesitation, but we're gonna have a ton of fun. Real quick before we dive in though, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am 21 years old. I go to Cal State Fullerton. I'm studying psychology, and I love plants and my cat, so.
Plants and cats, cool. Well, hey, let's go ahead and dive right in to our Hot Ones Challenge. All right, as you can see, wings have magically appeared in front of us for our Hot Ones Challenge today, Grace. We're gonna be working our way from the least spicy wing all the way to the most spicy wing and asking some spicy questions along the way. So let's dive right into it. Our first sauce is Hot Ones, the classic hot sauce. It says heat with heart. I love it, you ready?
Sure.
Perfect, let's get into our first wing. Big bite to start off. What do we think so far?
Not bad.
Not bad? This sauce has been a favorite of many of our leaders so far.
Decent.
Decent, fair enough. Well, hey, Grace, we're excited to have you leading our high school girls this year. Tell us, why'd you want to be a high school leader?
I had a really great leader during high school, so I kind of just wanted to be there for these girls.
Yeah, I love that. So you wanted to pass on what you received from your leader.
Yeah.
Very cool. What are you most excited about for the coming year of ministry?
Getting to know these girls better. I only joined not even a year ago, so I really am enjoying getting to know these girls.
Yeah. Yeah, you jumped on our team about a year ago and then spent some time in England for a little while, and now you're back for round two. I love it.
Yeah.
Cool, we're excited to have you.
Excited to be here.
I love it. Well, hey, let's move on to our second wing.
Okay.
All right, Grace, we're ready for our second wing. Our second sauce today is Patio's Potions, hot pepper, garlic, grapefruit, onions, carrots, all natural ingredients with vinegar and sunflower seeds. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Yes, let's get into our second wing. What do we think of Patio's?
That was better than the last one.
I'm not gonna lie, this is one of my favorites because of the grapefruit. Very delicious.
I can only taste the garlic.
Get another bite in there. Cool. Well, hey, Grace, as our students get to know you better, what is one of your most embarrassing moments?
Okay, I was at a women's retreat right out of high school, and I was wearing my mom's favorite pair of jeans, and I was walking down a hill, and I caught a rock, and I slipped, and I split my pants right up.
Yes.
And
I love that.
I had to run back to my cabin.
That is awesome. Gosh, good thing it was just a women's retreat, right?
Yeah, this is
Could have been a lot
true.
worse.
Yep.
That's great. Are you somebody who's easily embarrassed?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I took Abby's jacket and wrapped it around
Yeah.
my waist.
Well, good thing you had a good friend there with a jacket for
Yeah.
you. I love that. So you grew up in spending some time in youth group. What would you say is one of your favorite youth group memories of all time?
I really enjoyed Hume and getting to know the girls of like my age.
Yeah.
And growing closer to them, and some of them are still my best friends today.
Yeah, that's
very
awesome.
cool.
Camp is always a win. How many times do you go to Hume as a high school student?
4.
4 times. And then you've gone at least a couple times as a leader, right?
Just once with you
Just
guys.
once with us.
Yeah.
Oh, how special.
Yeah.
I love that. Cool. Well, I think that brings us to our third wing. All right, Grace, we're ready for our third wing. Our third sauce today is Pain is Good Louisiana number 218 hot sauce. Let's get into it.
It's like vinegary.
A little bit of vinegar. Not one of my favorite sauces, but one of Jake Duke's favorite sauces. How's this one sitting with you?
I wouldn't eat that.
No. Ramping up in spice a little bit. Start to feel it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, let's continue with our questions. We've come to the segment in our show called Explain That Graham. Grace, we've gone through your Instagram. We found a picture that we would love to hear a little bit more about. So that picture is going to appear on the screen now. Tell us the story of this picture.
Okay, well, it was my senior night of basketball. I think we won that night. I'm not really sure, but I played the whole game.
Nice.
And I think we won. I'm pretty sure we did. But and then after winning that, we actually had another game after that because that got us into CIF.
Cool.
So,
How'd CIF
yeah.
go for you?
We lost our second game, but
Yep.
yeah.
Well, can't win them all. How long have you played basketball for?
I actually played until freshman year of college.
Okay.
So
Very cool. Did you start playing as a kid?
I started when I could walk.
All right.
So,
I
yeah.
love that. So long tradition of basketball.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, it's a great picture. Congrats on the senior night victory.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, that brings us to our fourth wing. This is where we really start to ramp up. You ready?
Yep.
All right. All right, Grace, we're ready for our fourth wing. And our fourth sauce is Torchbearer sauce, headless horseradish sauce with ghost peppers. Let's get into it.
Okay. Oh no. I don't like horseradish.
That one hit you hard.
I didn't like the horseradish.
Yeah. Ah, the fire starts. All right, Grace, our fourth question for you. What do you wish you would have known when you were a junior high or high school student?
Probably like
Yeah, it's burned, right? This one's bad.
probably not
Gosh,
to
dang.
like take yourself too seriously. You don't have to have a set plan for your life because it's always changing and God's always got a different plan than what you have in your head. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's great advice. Don't take yourself too seriously. Hold things loosely.
Yeah.
Know that God's in control.
Yeah.
I love that. Very cool. All right. We've made it. We're ready for our final sauce.
Yeah.
All right, Grace, we have made it through the gauntlet. We've made it to our fifth and final wing. Our fifth sauce is Torchbearer sauce, garlic reaper sauce with real Carolina Reaper. Which brings us to a segment, one of the traditions here on Hot Ones that we like to call the last dab. What we like to do is we like to take a little bit of our final sauce, just pour a little bit out right here so we can dab our wing into it. Now you don't have to do this, but we do highly encourage it. You've been talking a big game, Grace, throughout this series as you watch other leaders go through this. So, excited to see you partake in the last
right.
dab. You ready?
Yep.
All right, our fifth wing.
Okay.
Our fifth sauce, let's get into it. The last dab. Take our wing here and do a little dip. Get a real nice, saucy. Cheers. What do we think of the Carolina Reaper?
It's not bad.
Oh my gosh, it is so bad. All right. Question number 5. Grace, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Well, as I mentioned before, I'm in psychology. Depends if I want to go into a master's program or not. If so, maybe a therapist, or if not, maybe just a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah, I love that. Those are both great options. I happen to be married to a therapist, and it's a pretty great career.
She's pretty great.
She is pretty great. She'll be partaking in this segment pretty soon here herself, so we can look forward to that. Grace, final question for you. What would you say you're most proud of in your life?
Oh. Probably just having the courage to go and study abroad by myself, not knowing anybody. Yeah.
Yeah, so you went to London for 3 months?
Almost 2 months.
Almost 2 months. Got cut short by Corona.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Bree and I loved visiting you in London. We had some great fish and chips, had a great time.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was an awesome experience.
It was.
Very cool. What was your favorite thing about London?
My freedom. Just like being able to go anywhere I want. And making new friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, hey, Grace, thank you so much for joining us on Hot Ones. We loved having you. We're so thankful for you being a high school leader and leading our high school girls. It's going to be so exciting watching the way that God works through you to impact their lives in this coming year. Before we sign off, any final words? We have a camera here, we got a camera here, and a camera here. Pick any of them. What would you like to leave our students with?
It's not as bad as it looks.
That's not true. And on that note, we're all done.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us. Have a great week. Is it really not that bad for you?
I mean, I have one too.
Man, that was spicy.
Dang, Jake, my mouth is still on fire.
Dude, that looked like it was painful.
It was indeed. Hey, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Journey Student Ministries Hot Ones Leader Edition and got to know Grace a little bit better.
Now we're gonna transition to a time of a message, guys. And for this, guys, we're continuing our series on the I am statements.
That's right. Our hope for this series is that you guys would get to know the heart of God a little bit better as we look at the 7 I am statements of Jesus in the book of John.
So let's go ahead and throw it over to Andrew for that.
Good morning, Journey students. I hope you guys had a great 4th of July, and it's great to see you here on this Sunday morning. If you guys would grab your Bibles and meet me in John chapter 11, we're continuing our series on the I am statements of Jesus. Throughout the book of John, 7 different times, Jesus makes definitive and character-defining I am statements. As we continue to look at how Jesus talks about who he is and who his Father is, we pick up with this statement this morning in John chapter 11, where Jesus says, I am the resurrection and the life. So join me in John chapter 11. We're picking up in the middle of a story about a friend of Jesus's named Lazarus. Now Lazarus has just died, and Jesus is now going to approach the place where he lived and gets confronted by his sisters on his way to see Lazarus's body. Join me in John chapter 11, starting in verse 17. This is the word of the Lord, and it reads like this. On his arrival, Jesus found that Lazarus has already been in the tomb for 4 days. Now Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to confront them in the loss of their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed home. Lord, Martha said to Jesus, if you had only been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask. Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. Martha answered, I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this? "Yes, Lord," she replied. "I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God who is come into the world." After she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary aside. "The teacher is here," she said, "and is asking for you." When Mary heard this, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet entered the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who had been with Mary in the house comforting her noticed how quickly she got up and went out, they followed her, supposing she was going to the tomb to mourn. When Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, "Lord, if you had only been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. "Where have you laid him?" he asked. "Come and see, Lord," they replied. Jesus wept. Pray with me. Father God, we thank you so much for this Sunday morning. Father, that we can gather together, that we can spend some time focusing on you and your word. Lord, that we might learn more wholly who you say that you are and who you say that we are. Father, as we study this I am statement in John this morning, I pray that you would give us eyes to see and ears to hear all that you would have us say, know, and do. God, that we might be shaped more wholly and more fully into your likeness. God, I pray this morning that you would meet us in a personal and an intimate way. God, we so desperately long to be in relationship with you. It's what we were created for, and it's what we need so badly now. So God, I pray this morning that you would show up and move. For all of these students, as they sit in their own homes looking at their computers on Zoom and YouTube, God, would you reach out of that screen and would you meet them right where they're at? Through the power of your word, through the power of your love. Jesus, we love you. We thank you. We pray all this in your precious and your holy name. Amen. This story that we just read about Jesus, Martha, Mary, and Lazarus is incredibly powerful because it shows a side of Jesus that is oftentimes overlooked. The reason that I read as much of this story as I did without just stopping at that I am statement is because it shows the humanity and the emotions of Jesus as he relates to and lives in relationship with others. That verse that we stopped on, the very last verse that we read, is in fact the shortest verse in the entire Bible and one of the more powerful ones. It just says, "And Jesus wept." When we read those words, we realize that even though Jesus is God, even though that he is perfect, perfection doesn't mean being rid of emotions. It doesn't mean never feeling any sadness. In fact, all of that is a part of the human experience, even the perfect human experience. These verses show us the humanity of Jesus and also the depth of his love for us. So we've been talking about these I am statements. We've been reminded constantly of the way that these statements tie back into the Old Testament, specifically the narrative of the Exodus. If you remember, right, Moses is confronted with God in the burning bush, and when Moses says, "Who should I say sends me?" God responds by saying, "Tell them I am that I am sends you." Yahweh is the Hebrew. I am that I am. And this is the first time in the scriptures that we're given a name for God. And that's really important, right? Because names carry deep meaning and significance, especially in the ancient world. In the world of the Bible, what your name was defined who you were. It defined what path you were going to take in life. It told a ton about your character and your history. It wasn't just how you were referred to. It in some ways summed up the essence of who you were. So through the book of John, as Jesus is making these I am statements, that's what he's doing as he communicates to us who he is and who his Father in heaven is. There's another really important Old Testament tie-in to this passage that we just read, and that's in fact in the book of Genesis, chapters 1 through 3. You see, Jesus is sometimes referred to as the second Adam or the new Adam, right? And let me break that down for you because that's a little confusing. If you've read the beginning of Genesis, you know that in the beginning, God creates everything, and then he creates a man named Adam and a woman named Eve. And ultimately, Adam and Eve mess it up. God didn't create them to mess it up, right? God created them and surrounded them with this perfect garden where he could walk in perfect relationship with them, where they had everything they ever needed, including intimacy with God, what we were really made for. And Adam screws it all up. It's because of Adam that death and sin entered the world, not to scapegoat just that one single man of Adam, right? All of us would have made the same mistake had we been there. But because of that mistake, death enters the world, pain enters the world. See, Jesus fully encapsulates what Adam was supposed to be, the perfect man. The man lived in perfect relationship with God without sin. Jesus comes to set right what Adam got wrong. And we see the tie-in in this specific statement. Jesus says, I am the resurrection and I am the life. The resurrection that wouldn't have even been needed had Adam not messed it up in the beginning. It's interesting and powerful that Jesus chooses to reveal this specific part of his character now in relation to the death of Lazarus, because if you know anything about this story, you know that in the following verses, Jesus actually raises Lazarus from the dead. He literally resurrects him in earthly, humanly, fleshy, bloody form, and he gives him life. But the way Jesus talks about resurrection and life here is different and even more deep and powerful than just earthly bodily life, right? Because what we don't read in the scriptures about Lazarus, but what we know to be true is that even though Jesus resurrects Lazarus here in this story, Lazarus will later die again, right? As all humans do. But when Jesus says, I am the resurrection and the life, he says, look, whoever believes in me, whoever has relationship with me will never die. So we know he's talking about more than just bodily, earthly life. He's talking about spiritual life. He's talking about life lived eternally in God's presence. He's talking about heaven. He's talking about what comes next. Jesus is saying that when we live in relationship with him, that we no longer have to fear death in the same way that people who don't know God do. He's saying we no longer have to live in bondage to our earthly circumstances, that we can live in a spiritual reality that's even more real than the physical reality that's all around us. That when we put our trust in Jesus, when we give our life to Jesus, when we have relationship with Jesus, that we enter into the kingdom of heaven here and now, that we get to live this life out of the overflow of abundance of heaven's resources, and that when this life, when this human body inevitably comes to an end, that our soul and our spirit lives on. Because ultimately what matters most, what's most real in this world, isn't the things we can see and touch. It's the things of spirit and soul. That's why I always say what matters most aren't the things you accomplish, it's the person you become. That's what God gets out of your life. It's your soul. It's your spirit. Because everything that we achieve, everything that we gather, all our material possessions, those will pass away. But our character will endure forever. This means good news and hope for you and I. It means that no matter how bad coronavirus gets, it means no matter how long we have to be quarantined at home, it means that no matter what else bad happens in our world, that we can still have peace, we can still have hope, we can still have joy. Why? Because our hope is in Jesus, our joy is in Jesus, our peace is in Jesus, and Jesus has overcome the world. He is the resurrection and the life. Means no matter what bad things happen, we can still experience blessing. My prayer for you this week as you continue to meditate and ponder this story about Lazarus, so that it would begin to give you a perspective shift, that you begin to put more emphasis on the spiritual than on the physical. that you begin to taste and see of God's goodness all around you, even in the face of darkness. Because the world is dark, but heaven is bright, and the light has overcome the darkness.
My foes are many, they rise against me, but I will hold my ground. I will not fear the war, I will not fear the storm. My help is on the way, my help is on the way. Oh my God, not delay, my refuge and strength always. I will not fear, His promise is true. My God will come through always, always. Surrounds me, chaos abounding, my soul will rest in. I will not fear the war, I will not fear the storm. My help is on the way, my help is on the way. I lift my eyes up, my help comes from the Lord. I lift my eyes up, my help comes from the Lord. Yeah, I lift my eyes, I lift my eyes up, my help comes from the Lord. I lift my eyes up, my help comes from the Lord, from the Lord. Yeah, oh my God, He will not delay, my refuge and strength always. I will not fear, His promise is true. My God will come through always, always. I lift my eyes, yeah. I lift my eyes up, my help comes from the Lord. I lift my eyes up, my help comes from the Lord. I lift my eyes up. I lift my eyes up. My help comes from the Lord. I lift my eyes up. My help comes from the Lord. From the Lord, yeah. Oh my God, He will not delay. My refuge and strength always. I will not fear. His promise is true. My God will come through always, always. Always, always, always.
Lord, thank you so much for bringing us all here together, Lord, on Sunday morning, to be able to come together, grow in community, and to learn more about you. Lord, I pray that as we gain more knowledge about who you are, Lord, that we come to be more at peace with the world, Lord, that we can sit in your grace, Lord, and in your love that you so graciously give us, Lord, that we can be ready for all that comes towards us, Lord. So please bless our week as we continue on and have you in the center of our hearts, Lord. I say this in your holy and wonderful name. Amen.
We've loved hanging out with you guys this Sunday morning. Before you go, we have a couple announcements for you.
To start off, guys, we have loved and we enjoy having in-person small group with you guys, and we want to continue that, but we want to also let you guys know that we're following and looking closely at CDC guidelines to stay up to date and to make sure that everything we're doing is good and healthy for us.
That's right. So make sure you guys are paying attention to your texts and your emails, as we'll be putting out up-to-date information right before small groups this week to let you know if it's still safe for us to be meeting in person.
Secondly, guys, we have a lot of fun events coming up this month in July. So make sure to be up to date on all those things. We have a barbecue, we have a movie night, we have paddleboarding. It's gonna be a great, great month.
Yeah, we're fired up to have some fun with you guys this summer, and hopefully we can cap that off with summer camp the very first week of August. Like we said, we're still watching state and CDC guidelines very closely because our number one priority is your health and safety. So stay up to date on the Remind app texts, on all the MailChimp emails, so that you guys can have the latest information on what's happening with all our events and possible summer camp.
With all that said, guys, we're so excited to see you guys Wednesday night. Until then, guys, have a great rest of your week.